Staying low and moving as fast as his knee would allow, Aaran crossed the street and ran behind a condemned house that looked like it was ready to topple over with the next gust of wind. Regardless of how flimsy the building appeared, he felt relief wash over him when he put distance between him and the sentinel inside the house. But he knew he still wasn't safe. More engines rumbling nearby rattled tension into every tightened muscle in Aaron's body. They didn't seem to be getting any closer, but they were coming from the same direction Aaran was headed. Since there was no chance in hell he was going to turn around, he continued forward. Aaran darted from house to house and made his way down the street. He spotted another Humvee and box truck along the way. Though he didn't see any sentinels, the Webbers were moving to and from the truck in perfect synchrony, carrying various plastic bins of supplies. He took just a moment to watch the Webbers, memorizing their timing, before dashing through the yard unseen. He waited until one man climbed into the back of the truck just as another jumped down from it, heading back into a house across the street. Aaran ran as if his life depended on it, because it did. He waited several nail-biting seconds before he actually believed that he had made it to the next house without detection. Slowly and cautiously, Aaran made his way to the end of the neighborhood, managing to stay out of sight of the nebulous minions. Once he was standing behind the last house on the street, he was out of moves. The area was sprawling with activity. Crossing the main road to conceal himself in the dense woods would be risky, but staying in the area as sentinels and Webbers tore the neighborhood apart was suicide. While he weighed his options, Aaran was forced to dive for cover behind a children's playscape when a convoy of trucks drove by on the main road. As soon as the last one had passed, he pushed himself off the swampy ground and brushed the larger chunks of mud away from the ejection port of his Scorpion. Time was running out. He couldn't wait for the perfect opportunity. He was heading toward the road when suddenly he heard footsteps. Just as he spun toward the noise, a sentinel came around the corner of the house. Time wrenched to a stop when their eyes met. The sentinel's eyes were hollow, and his gaze was empty, unfocused. He didn't seem dead, nor did he seem alive. There was no surprise in his expression, no terror, fear, or concern in his appearance. The only indication that he'd been startled by Aaran was his suddenly still frame. His face was as expressionless as his eyes, while the nebula in his brain worked in tandem to determine the threat Aaran posed. It was the first time Aaran had been so close to a sentinel, and that detail was far more disturbing than he could have imagined. Only a second had passed since Aaran had first seen the man come around the house, but he was so fixated on the sentinel's vacant expression that his instinct had taken control. Without realizing he was even moving, the red dot sight of Aaron's CZ Scorpion leveled on the sentinel's body, finally distracting him from the man's haunting glower. "Citizen, drop the gun!" The man wheezed out the command, his gravelly voice sounding strained and out of use. Aaron's mind was void of thought when he heard the muffled pop of his suppressed 9mm echo off the surrounding houses and trees. The soldier's body flinched back for a fleeting moment before he attempted to raise his own rifle. Aaran fired 2 more shots, striking him in the chest and the arm supporting the rifle. The sentinel stumbled back a little further, his rifle pointing toward the ground. Despite 3 direct hits, the man's stone-like expression didn't waver, nor did he so much as huff at the pain. His vacant eyes remained fixed on Aaran. "What the hell?" Aaran stammered in disbelief as he watched blood pour out of the man's wounds. The damage was nothing if not substantial, yet the soldier was undeterred by the attack. He struggled to lift his rifle again, but before he could set his sights on the young man standing in front of him, Aaran dumped 6 more rounds into his chest. The carnage overwhelmed the man's body. He stepped back again, but his legs gave out. He fell to the ground. Hard. Aaran ran over and kicked the rifle away while keeping his carbine trained on the sentinel's head. The soldier's coat was saturated with blood, and his labored breathing was accompanied by a grotesque sound that could only be described as motor oil getting suctioned through a straw. His eyes, though, unfazed. It was like his brain was not processing the pain, as if he was completely unaware that he was dying. He just kept his eyes locked on to Aaran with calculated indifference, processing every last detail of Aaran's appearance until he perished.